Hi there, Peter Hayden here to help you understand your journey with Microsoft Data Analytics and AI. And I wanted to share a recent conversation we had with a customer about their own journey. And this is around, do we go towards deploying Power BI or should we consider Fabric right now? So please follow along to learn more. Some background about this customer. This organisation, they have a very established team of 12 people and a legacy environment, including an Oracle DWH. They've got a bit of Cognos, a bit of Tableau, and they're going through a transformation around what they should do with this data and analytics platform. So they're down the paths of looking at Microsoft-based solutions, give them a lot of advantages, but they're thinking about, look, we'd like to go just start with Power BI. In fact, they've already got a Power BI premium, and at the time of this recording, these are I guess items are no longer available for purchase. They finished a few months ago, so they're on a legacy licensing scheme that allows them to use Power BI for their whole organisation. When they renew their license, which is in about 6 months' time, they will need to use Microsoft Fabric and license it that way. So they're on this journey to leverage Fabric right now. So they're in a decision, should we go towards just Power BI and get started with that, or should we think about Fabric more holistically? So I wanted to take you through, I guess, some of the pros and cons of going down a Power BI only approach, is what this organisation wants to do. So let's look at some of the pros of why it'll be good to think about going Power BI first. Low barrier to entry. So Power BI is easier to get started compared to setting up a full environment with Microsoft Fabric. It allows them to focus on building dashboards and reports immediately, leveraging their existing data warehouse environment, and get faster business insights. So it's a really good reason to think about, let's focus on Power BI as part of starting that transformation journey. In terms of their existing investments, highly targeted. So they can start using the Power BI premium features with just that, and get started with less complexity, less upfront cost compared to the whole Fabric environment. So that's a really good reason to go that way as well. Third reason around focusing on Power BI is the learning curve. Already shifting from systems like Cognos and Tableau absolutely is a learning curve for their team, who have to then change the way they do things. A lot of familiar concepts, but the tools are different ways of implementing features, and so going on that journey is going to be a shift for them. Just focusing on Power BI simplifies how much change they're going through immediately. Another good reason to start with just Power BI. And lastly, it allows them to go on this journey in a stepwise evolution. So incrementally increasing that capability, focusing on Power BI first, without making drastic changes to the whole environment, allows them to think about that, build that up, stabilize their capabilities around reporting, before then thinking about data integration, data engineering, lakehouses, real-time analytics as those features may be needed down the future. Let's think about some of the reasons why this is not a good approach, some of the cons for going just with Power BI and not thinking about Fabric. And the first is there's an inevitable upgrade to Fabric inside this time frame. It's about 6 months. So they'll need to go there anyway. Now, setting up Power BI as a standalone environment might mean a little bit of duplicated effort and maybe some refactoring later when you then think about onboarding data workloads into the environment. Maybe it's around data integration, around transformation processes, or other governance features that might need to be retrofitted later. So that is a downside, that you might need to have some additional effort, duplication of effort, by not going around Fabric first. Now, in terms of integration limitations, now Power BI alone is a visualization tool, doesn't have that rich data engineering and AI capabilities that Fabric offers. So as their use cases expand and business demand grows, there may be increased need for some of those additional features that make sense to use Fabric for, rather than trying to retrofit those into their legacy environment. But even with those integrations for this customer, certainly they've got some very simple connections they need to make, but there would be some remediation required when they start bringing those workloads across to Fabric and decommission some of those old systems. There is going to be some legacy integration challenges. So while we can connect Power BI to Oracle, some of those other seamless integration opportunities that Fabric brings, such as things like shortcuts, just won't be there to be able to take use of those systems that may make it simpler to do. So some limitations around achieving some of those analytics capabilities by focusing on Power BI first. And lastly is the siloed approach. So sticking with just Power BI alone may mean that they get some great capabilities, but they miss out on then how do they manage their data orchestration and management and governance by running siloed systems. So that path to innovation is a little bit slow, and they're still essentially operating silo compared to where the other parts of their workloads are around their data platform. So let's look at some considerations to tie these together. Should we go down Power BI first, or should we consider Fabric right now if this is your situation as well? So think about that short-term focus. So this makes sense to do that if you want some quick wins and get up and running really quickly and start making those changes. For the customer that I've been referencing in this video, they've got some end of licensing coming up for some of those legacy platforms. So for them, immediate focus is around leveraging Power BI to replace some of those outdated systems they do not want to renew and burden that cost. So that's a good reason to think about. Let's focus on Power BI in that short term, get those wins, build skills, and start their journey inside of the Microsoft environment. Second consideration is thinking about the medium to long term journey. And it is important to recognize this upcoming shift to Fabric, given it is going to be needed. Still, even though it's all one product, there may be considerations that are needed now as you think longer term about that, and having a clear roadmap to adopt that, whether it's for new business requests, so you can start thinking about how you will fit those in as you plan to then decommission some of those older systems. Granted, there's a lot of investment made to date in things like Oracle data warehousing or those Tableau reports, but certainly having a strategy for the medium to long term, take advantage of Fabric will be useful, so you can get as much out of that investment making into that Fabric platform. Third, as you're thinking about that, is consider a hybrid approach. Start laying down the foundational pieces for Fabric. Start thinking about your architecture for your data and how you plan to use that. So while you can still focus on Power BI and building that capability, thinking about the architecture and the governance that will be applied longer term will be useful. So a hybrid approach is really a good blend of getting the best of Power BI initially, but getting yourself ready for Fabric at the same time. And the last thing to consider as you're thinking about this is around the training and change management. So getting people's skills up to speed. There is this scenario with this customer, there is a significant shift in the way they need to work, but to take advantage of modern ways of working and using things like deployment pipelines, for example, to help build their processes for managing your reports and data engineering practices longer term. But that's going to take change, and having good change management is something to be considered as well. At least start planning for that, and not just for the data team, but then for the whole organization around the current ways of accessing or requesting information to data and how that will look in a new modern environment. Hope that was of some use to you as you think about whether you think about just Power BI or you want to think about Fabric in the same context. Whether you are starting small, you don't have a premium P1, but you may have some Power BI Pro or some E5 licenses today, you certainly can think about whether Fabric is something you incorporate in sooner rather than later, if longer term that might be of use to you. If you like the video, please hit the thumbs up button below this video, and that will help me understand what sort of content that you're interested in. And if you'd like to hear more about taking that journey with Microsoft Data Platform, hit that subscribe button and you'll be notified when new content arrives.